This week's episode, I am joined with my special guest, John. John is a rigging lead at Grinding Gear, and pretty awesome episode. We find out just how he got into 3D and rigging and Maya, and his path. I guess very brief, like just out of high school into Grinding Gear, which was a short period of time, but very eventful. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add?
I guess I'm John I came from the Philippines about 5 years ago, and now I work at Grinding Gears as the rigging lead, and this is probably the place that I've stayed at the longest because I'm apparently coming on to like 4 years already.
Nice, yeah. It's been a pretty good 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Should we just wrap it up?
Yep.
Yeah, enjoy the episode. So, man, I've been wanting to get you on for a while.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is actually a better forum for like a discussion to get to know you, I think. Because the actual podcast is, I think you kind of say a thing and then it's very soundbitey. Where like you would say a thing, one person responds, that you then ask another question, and you don't really. There's no flow or anything. But yeah, man, I wanted you to come on since XLCon.
Well, we're finally here. We finally did it.
We're doing it. And yeah, XLCon, man, that was pretty fun. The thing around it, I think I already told you, but it was. We wanted to have you on the podcast and actually do a recording at XLCon. And then it was the thing of like, no, we want to get a streamer on. You're going to be interviewed by a streamer. And they were like, oh, sorry, John. we can't have you on.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, like, I guess these start with how you grew up and how you made your way to Grinding Gear. So wherever you feel is like an appropriate starting point. How'd you grow up? Like, what was high school like? Do you want to go there?
I guess I should probably introduce myself first.
Oh shit! Yeah. I will do an intro. Yeah. Shit. You're what is your position? Lead rigger?
Yeah.
Rigging lead?
I guess it's interchangeable between rigging lead or lead rigging artist. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But I guess just most of the
I'm
tasks.
here with John.
Yeah.
I'm here with John.
So any tasks that involve rigging in general would more or less come to me. Or if someone has a rigging task that they need help with, I guess we're the go-to place to.
Yeah, we've already talked about this because I always like to grill like new artists and just to see where they're coming from. But yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, how'd you grow up?
So I grew up pretty normal in the city, back in Manila. And then as a kid, I guess it just started with me just drawing literally every single time.
Yeah.
So I guess even before
as a child, like as a 5-year-old kind of thing, you were just drawing all the time?
Probably even like younger than that.
Right.
So I guess one of the things I can remember is that we had this coffee table before, and under the it's like a black painted coffee table, and under the coffee table it's just this paper like material, and because there wasn't a lot of paper in the house that I could freely draw, and I actually drew underneath that coffee table before.
Yeah.
And I guess and plus there was this like magazine rack underneath the table that eventually got dented because I was always lying down while drawing on the coffee table.
Yeah.
But the
what were you into? What were you into drawing? Because I know when I was a kid, dinosaurs were huge, and so I'd draw like T-Rex feet and head, little arms, things with tails on them.
So Pokemon.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're much younger than me.
Yeah. So my childhood consists of the period where Pokemon came out the first time, And then you started having a bunch of other series like Digimon or Monster Rancher, all those other things.
I remember.
So I ended up drawing a bunch of made-up Pokemon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And even a bunch of, Ninja Turtle type stuff. So mostly things in the mid-90s. That's what I ended up drawing.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I guess that just continued until I got through school, because I remember in kindergarten I was already like drawing people. And then there was this time in second grade where I was drawing we had an art project to make like a book or something. So I did the illustrations for it. And I must have done so well that my teacher was actually grilling me like, did you actually do this? Or did your parents do it?
This is the highest compliment.
Yeah, it's the highest compliment. But me as a child, I didn't see it as a compliment. I thought I was being attacked. So I was like, yes, I did it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. And then
But from there, like, did you realize you were talented? You must have saw your illustrations compared to other children and thought, man, I'm pretty good.
Well, yeah, kind of. But at the same time, I had a bunch of friends as well that were really good at drawing.
Right.
And I will say that they were one of the reasons why I kept pushing myself to get better. Because so in kindergarten, I was drawing a lot. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And then I got into grade school and like saw another person who was already drawing Dragon Ball Z anime level stuff. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get that good. So I just spent time just drawing, and eventually those people that I actually tried to compete with, it was a pretty one-sided competition, to be honest, because I was the only one was like saying, I need to get better because I want to be a really, really good at drawing like this guy. And they were just like, yeah, I'm just drawing and stuff. So that constant competition, and then eventually it just never stopped. Yeah. Like even until now, I'm pretty much the same.
Yeah. And you still draw to this day.
Yeah. Well, not as often as I was a kid, because not as much time, I guess. Yeah. But when I can draw, and then I go ahead and do it.
When did you come across your first computer? Do you remember it? Was that like a big moment for you?
Not really. Okay. So I never really cared about the computer up until grade school, when my older brother brought home a CD of a computer game.
Oh, awesome.
And then, but other than that, like the computer was mostly used for work and just typing.
What was...
Or having like Encarta Diction Encyclopedia.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah. Oh, those are rough, man. What was the CD? What was the game that your brother brought back?
It was, the one I can remember was Battle Realms.
I don't know that.
So it's like a RTS where it's taken place in like Oriental style. Similar to what you'd have with StarCraft or something like that.
Gotcha, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there's like 4 clans of like the Dragon, Serpent, Wolf, and Lotus. So all Oriental styles, all different capabilities in what they do, like your regular RTS.
Yeah.
But I think we just got really into it because my family is really into like martial arts as well.
Right.
So, and the thing had a bunch of, kung fu artists or like just people doing different kinds of martial arts. So like, heck yeah, this game is awesome.
Yeah, okay. So there was a campaign you could play through it. You're like, and now you're drawing this, obviously.
Well, I wasn't drawing them specifically, but I did get some inspiration from the way that some of their characters looked.
Yeah.
Like the Wolf Clan, for example, were all a bunch of people that had Wolverine claws and red spiky hair. So for a time period, a bunch of my characters looked pretty Oriental.
Yeah.
As well.
Cool. After high school, what happens next?
So after high school, so before we get to that one, funny story was when I was growing up, and eventually my mom asked like, what did you want to do in the future, like as a profession or whatever, I pretty much just told her that I want to find a job where I'm just drawing all day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Animator.
Yeah. Pretty much that. I didn't even know what that was yet.
Yeah.
So we kind of had a bit of a problem when I was in high school already, because in high school, that's still kind of what I wanted to do growing up.
Yeah.
But in terms of the industry in the Philippines during that time, there weren't really a lot of schools or universities you can go to that actually offered you like an animation degree or things like that. But it was kind of lucky that on my third year of high school, so that's like junior high, this school started to offer actually an animation degree program.
Right, okay.
And
this is traditional? This is just like drawing each frame sort of thing?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a 2D animation degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, oh, wow, this could actually be it for me. And we were just really lucky because my mom was already freaking out like, oh,
what is he gonna do?
like no, where is he gonna go afterwards?
Right.
There's no place that would teach him exactly what he wants unless I went down a route of like traditional fine arts and became like a painter or something.
Yeah. That's one of the routes one of my brothers took, which was he was quite talented, went and pursued fine arts and hated it.
Yeah. So I had a feeling that that's what I would have ended up doing. So when that school actually came to my high school to do like a orientation or something, like, oh, hey, this is what we offer and stuff, come and apply there.
Yeah.
I found out that they had like a scholarship program to get in. Like if you're good enough of an artist, they might give you like a scholarship to study there.
Yeah.
So I just told my mom that, hey, I'll try to, like, because the tuition for that school is like ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But I guess that's how it is for most universities. So I just told her like, okay, I'll try to apply for this scholarship, and if I get in, at least it's something that I want to do. And because I'm on it, I got in there myself, it'll mean more to me studying there.
Yeah.
And in the back of my head, I was also thinking, if I probably don't get in here, I probably won't go to university anymore.
Shit, okay.
So thankfully I did. Like, got an interview with the head of the department. He must have seen something in me that he...
What did you submit?
So during my high school time was when I got my first tablet. So I had a bunch of like digital drawings and stuff.
Yeah. This is on Photoshop.
Yeah, on Photoshop. And I actually had to learn Photoshop by getting this old book that my grandpa had on like Photoshop. Apparently they come with like a thick manual before.
Yeah.
So I was just reading through that on like how to use Photoshop and masking and stuff.
Okay.
And eventually managed to get a bunch of digital drawings out with a mouse, just using a mouse.
Wow.
Until I finally got a cheap tablet.
Yeah, do you still have those pictures like to this day?
Yeah, they're on my DeviantArt. But nobody should look there anymore.
Awesome.
They're all there for, for the world to see, but like I got it better.
Yeah, okay.
So
you get accepted. You get accepted.
Yeah, so I got accepted.
You got the scholarship.
And so now I was studying to be an animator, like getting my bachelor's degree.
How old were you at this time?
So I was about 17.
Wow, okay. Right out of high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess I was like most of the people in my degree at that time, where I was just going down I'm going to end up as a traditional 2D animator, flipping papers and stuff, which I actually did study. I had to go through all of that.
Yeah.
So doing frame by frame, flipping through like a bunch of A3 papers, coming into school with a fat stack, because this is what my homework submission had to be.
Yeah.
But I think I was very lucky or I don't know, fortunate that on the literal orientation day, I met one of my good friends there, and he was actually, aside from the fact that he was also a scholar at that time, we had the same thing, but he was already doing 3D stuff. So I'm like, oh my god, this guy is better than me.
Okay, so this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So that was the situation again, because I didn't know that there were like a bunch of programs for 3D. Like I knew they were doing 3D for VFX and movies and stuff like that, but I didn't know that there was a way for me to like, even just a free program or something like that.
Yeah.
Unlike now where probably like you type in the first thing, free 3D program, and then a Blender would pop up and then go ahead and study. But during that time, I think Blender was still working its way.
What year was that? Do you remember?
I think around 2009.
Okay. Yeah, 2009. What was that? Blender wasn't great for the longest time.
Yeah, so I think maybe a couple of years after, a year after, not really sure, but that's when I first saw the Blender movie. If you remember that one with the girl and the dragon. Have you seen that one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so the Blender Foundation made like a movie, of course, using Blender to show that, like, hey, you can use this to make like full animated feature films.
Yeah.
So that's actually the first time I've heard of it. I was just like, this is pretty cool. But at that time, I was already learning Maya.
Right.
Like, I could appreciate it more because I know how hard it is to make the 3D stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough for me to like say, I'm learning Maya right now. I'll also learn Blender at the same time, and I'll just end up confused.
Yeah, learning 3D is a huge task. Yeah. Like just all the concepts of 3D.
Yeah.
So like that's a full-time job right there. And then throw in another piece of software with all their own terminology. It's just forget about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was one of the things that happened. But my friend was using this 3D program that I can't even remember what the name of anymore. It's just so obscure.
Okay, was it Lightwave?
No. It wasn't even Lightwave. I swear, it was this really simple 3D program.
Yeah.
There wasn't even... there wasn't even any like control curves or anything there or something. You could probably like model a character.
What's Google's one called?
SketchUp? Oh no, it wasn't even that.
Okay. I thought I knew 3D programs. I guess I haven't heard of them all. This guy wrote his own software.
I don't know, but I don't blame you for not knowing it because he's literally the only person I know that used that.
Right.
And he showed it to me, and I actually bugged him into teaching me how to use that thing. Like our first year of uni, because I was just like, after I got into uni, and I think around that, a couple of years before that, the Final Fantasy Advent Children movie came out.
Yeah, that was massive.
Yeah, that was massive, especially like for me, since I was like a Final Fantasy super fan at that time.
Yeah, of course.
But then I already realized then that this is probably the direction things are gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping that I find a school that will teach me 3D, but it didn't seem at that time that there would be any. So I was fine just being a regular animator.
Yeah. Oh, so you were still pursuing the 2D animation?
Yeah. At that
I guess the whole curriculum was actually structured around that, yeah. And so you were being graded on that stuff?
Yeah.
But could you even attempt 3D there?
So around my second year of uni, I found out that there were actually 2 3D classes in my degree program.
Yeah, okay.
And after I found that out, I was just like, oh crap, I'm gonna smash these two subjects out of the park and stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's really the I really felt like, 2D is good. And around that time as well that I was studying, I was just getting people saying that, oh crap, 2D animation is is dying. We need to revive it or whatever.
Yeah, dude, the industry, like, what was the last, like, Disney? Lion King was, like, 2D animation, but they were delving into, like, 3D for the, like, the buffaloes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, a lot, Pixar was out pretty big at this time. Like, 3D animation was coming in. And, dude, Advent Children must have been, like, the nail in the coffin. It was just like...
And like, Pixar was making a bunch of movies as well. Like, they already had, like, Toy Story, Finding Nemo,
all the big ones.
Monsters, Inc.
I think Incredibles was out.
Yeah, Incredibles was out as well. So you know, people could see that was going, where it was going. And it kind of didn't help as well that majority of my uni professors were, like, traditional 2D artists. So we have this saying, like, the old men of animation, something like that. And they were the ones saying that, so, like, it's 2D art is dying the traditional way and stuff. We need to revive it and stuff.
Okay.
But in my head, I'm like, it's not that it's dying. It's that it's evolving.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, we have things that look like 2D art, and they still follow the same principles of 2D animation, but it's just made using 3D.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's easier and it's more cost effective. You can do more.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be a complete loss.
Were you still kind of torn between 2D and 3D, or were you fully in the 3D camp at this point?
I was fully in the 3D camp, like, at this point. The moment I found out, like, okay, they're gonna teach us how to use Maya. I was just like, yep, this is it. This is it all the way. And it even ended up being that. So the end of uni, we always have to have, like, a thesis, right? In my group, there were only 2 animations that were in 3D. Everything else was 2D.
Were you one of those 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
So me and my friend made one animation, and this other guy made his own stuff.
How was the other guys? Okay. So you guys were the standout 3D animation.
Yeah. So pretty much you can count on your hand, like, who was doing 3D at that time. Even the year before me, because the animation degree program was really new. Yeah. So I was actually just the 3rd batch of animation students at that time. Yeah. So count all of the animation students. On one hand, you can just count how many did 3D. Right.
Do you look back at that and cringe a little bit? Like what you made?
What I made? Yeah, I do. Because
what was it?
Uni was pretty, like, hectic, actually. But then it was mostly because of my decisions. But it was a pretty fun time. So
tell me your course. Okay, what did it go over? Did you go over, like, storytelling, all that kind of stuff, hero's journey, composition? So did you learn a lot of these principles?
Yeah. So the school is pretty good. They really did teach you the entire process of, if you wanted to be an animator, but not just as an animator, but if you wanted to be a director or something, make your own animated film. Yeah. So they do teach you how to go from the start, like how to write an actual story with a good enough plot. Yeah. And one of my writing professors was one of the writers for a bunch of shows on one of the biggest TV networks in the Philippines. Very cool. And he was reviewing my paper, and sometimes I would write something and he'd ask me, like, okay, so what is the plot of your story, and something like that. And I won't even be able to answer him because I thought this was what the plot I was writing was. But it was actually this. Okay. And then after I read through it again, I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. Yeah. Yep. I was going the wrong direction all the way. Okay. So after we get that done, do a bunch of storyboards. So you get all of those thumbnails and then make an animatic. Yeah.
Was that in 3D?
No. So the animatic was just 2D.
Yeah. But you would actually cut it to the timing of whatever.
Cut out, like, if it was like a drawing, cut out this person, make him look like he's, like, moving across the screen. put the preliminary sound effects and the dialogue, and then like watch it completely, along with like frame numbers, timing, all that stuff. It was all very professional, really. So I was at least getting taught how they do it industry wise.
Yeah.
So by the end of the first part, where they teach you like animation pre-production, you basically have something that you can work with in the next class for like the actual animation production, which is whatever you storyboarded. Okay, now
make it.
Now make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very similar to what I remember doing, and that was rough. Like doing all parts of it is rough. With it was a 2D course, and you guys were like doing 3D in your free time, right? Like, did the tutors help you? Or was it very much just you? What was the internet like? You could actually ask questions on the internet and actually get answers.
So, because most of my tutors were 2D artists,
yeah,
I actually did most of it myself.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare. You wouldn't be able to get any information.
But I was kind of lucky that after my first class of Maya, like 3D animation and stuff like that, I just so happened to see this flyer just posted in the school, because it's an art school building. So people just post like different banners, flyers, or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But apparently there was someone who was gonna offer workshops for 3D in Maya. Cool. And then I took it, showed it to my friend who I told you was doing 3D and stuff. And he was also the one I worked with to make the animation, our final animation. Yeah. I told him, we should go to this because we're not gonna learn enough of what we need to do in this thing. And so we did go to that workshop, and in the end, the guy who taught the workshop ended up becoming one of my mentors.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny how that turns out, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Do you still keep in touch with?
Yeah. So he messages me sometimes if he needs some help with some freelance work back home.
Yeah.
Although it's a little bit different now since I'm over here. He'll just message like, "Oh, okay, I don't know if the schedule works.
Yeah. But
if you can help me, that'll be great." So I'm just like, okay.
Well, tell me, what does he do now? Is he still teaching?
So he still runs, I think he might still have some workshops, but he has his own company now.
Wow.
To do like a bunch of media works type things.
Yeah.
But yeah, during that time, when I first met him, he was just a freelance 3D artist. And he was really into rigging.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, first class of 3D animation, I'm not gonna blame the uni professor for this, but I barely learned anything rigging wise.
Yeah.
Because how are you expected to be able to teach the student all of this stuff about 3D when there are like say 30 students in a class?
Yeah.
And you have to teach them this, and maybe only one or two are actually interested in doing 3D. Yeah. Everyone else is just like, I need to take this class.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I don't really blame them. But because of that, I never really got to, even if I had so many questions on like, how do I do this? How do I do that? My friend and I just had to learn it on our own until we took the workshop.
Yeah.
Which we had to build. We were taught literally step-by-step rigging, how to rig a leg, spine, arms, like the whole thing.
Yep.
And then the end of the class, you'd have like a fully rigged character and you'll do an animation. That rig is also still in DeviantArt, and I will say that's one of the, even though it looks so dated, I'm still super happy about like, heck yeah, this thing is pretty good.
Let me ask you, does it have FK/IK switches?
No.
Okay, so it's just straight up.
So it was just a basic course. So it's all, it wasn't even FK. It was all IK. IK hands, feet, spine. Okay, maybe the head was FK, but yeah, mostly IK.
Did you do lip syncing or anything? Blend shapes.
Blend shapes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I made a bunch of blend shapes, but I didn't make it talk.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't time to set up the phenoms.
Yeah.
But also because I didn't have as much time to actually work on that thing, because while I was doing that workshop, I still had to do my uni stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So it was always, the funny thing about doing stuff with my mentor is, for some reason, we always find ourselves down to the wire in terms of like, I need to submit this.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, maybe like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'm rendering stuff. And I'm like, okay, here you go. That's it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have any good compositing programs yet at that time. So I actually just used this free image sequencer compiler online. And things that I rendered out to play in 24 FPS was now just playing like 5.
Oh my goodness.
So I was just looking at it. I'm like, well, I don't know how to fix this. So it just looked like a really choppy animation.
Yeah. You couldn't change that setting. It was just at 5 frames per second.
I only found out I could change the setting like after I submitted it already.
Oh,
and after that, I didn't bother like changing it anymore. Because...
Do you want to talk about what that story was? I'm interested.
Which story?
What was the story? What did you animate? What did you submit?
Okay, so I made one of my original characters, which I have like a billion drawings of, like posted online. And then I made her. I wanted to do a fight scene basically, because that's all. During that time that I was in uni, that was when. Are you familiar with the Dead Fantasy animations by Monty
No.
So he was the lead animator in Rooster Teeth. He passed away sadly, but he did do a bunch of fan animations of characters from Dead or Alive fighting characters from Final Fantasy. All the girl characters.
Yeah.
And the way that he choreographed the animation was just super good.
Yeah.
And it flowed really well. So I'm like, I wanted to do that too.
Okay.
And here I was, like this guy was probably like doing it for like years and months. And I'm like someone who's just recently learned 3D and said, I want to do that on the same level.
Yeah.
Not understanding the nuances or difficulties that come into actually even getting to the point of just animating it.
Dude, it might be the hardest thing to animate. Not only just a character, but 2 interacting with each other. I read about this. Well, sorry, I heard about this recently where there's another podcast and they talked about how mocap suits are real cheap, but that the fight scene in Black Panther was so crazy. You just don't want to keyframe that. It's just a nightmare. So they intentionally had mocap suits and everything just to give you information, and then you start animating.
Yeah. Yep.
So to keyframe that, holy shit. What were you thinking?
Well, I was, as usual, I was overestimating.
Yeah.
My
By the way, I think that is like the best kind of learning, where you have all this like energy and you just want to make this thing, and I want to hear how this turned out. but typically, because I can speak to my own showreel that I presented, but I wanted to make not only decent models, rigs, I wanted to animate it and render it really well. And I can tell you, looking back on it, I did not get a chance to animate it, and I wanted to do a fight scene as well.
So it went as good as you were expecting. Where not only did I, for one, if I made a fight scene, it means I have to make 2 characters.
Yeah.
So I just got my same character,
duplicated,
referenced her in twice, and placed a Black Lambert on her because I just said, "Oh look, she's fighting her shadow self."
Yeah, works. It's good enough for Zelda.
Yep. If it's good enough for them.
Yeah.
And then I think about 3 moves in, so I just had the character, like the shadow character, walking up from behind her because it zoomed in on her face, and it had enough space on the side to show that, oh look, there's a character behind her now. I also forgot that I had object interaction in that that I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like the sword, her big ass sword was on the ground, and she had to pick it up, and then now the sword is with her.
Yeah,
which was a whole nother
pretty hard. How'd you do it?
So yeah, I did the usual constraints where I like grab this.
Yeah, you have two swords.
Yeah, well no, I just it's one sword.
Okay.
Put her hand there, constrain the sword to her hand.
Okay.
But then I had to put like another thing to constrain the sword to the ground.
Yeah.
And then keyframe all the toggles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Not bad. And then
how long did that take you, man?
Took me a day to do the entire thing. And then, like, so you managed to grab the sword, lift it up, and then like, heck yeah, we're in business. Yeah. This wasn't so hard. And then you realize like, crap, I have to change the timing.
Yep.
So now you have to go through like now I have a sword that's just popping in and out of her hand.
Dude, the mental gymnastics of like, oh, this is there. It's constrained to this now. But at frame 37, like it messes me up, man. You almost need to like animate with like a notepad next to you.
Yeah. So it was all starting to become kind of familiar with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But after a while and a couple of crashes later, the thing I managed to get out was the shadow version of herself runs up behind her to do a slash, and she turns around, blocks it, pushes up, which disarms the shadow version sword, flies through the air, and you see this really weird ass sword like defying gravity and just spinning weirdly. And then it was supposed to look like it flew up in the air like all nice and stuff. It did a dropping ball effect and she'll catch it, but no, it just looks like it flew up in the air and just magnetized to her hand. And then she double slashes the bad guy, and then it just cuts to her walking away. That's it. Cool.
Yeah.
So
because she defeated it.
Because like it's all done. And also because there was literally no more time to do anything.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have environments? Did you have like an arena?
So I had a plane, which I pulled a couple of vertices of.
Incredible.
And a texture of a ground with small rocks.
Yeah.
Like super basic, and then a dome with the texture of a sky.
Very cool.
That's yep.
What more do you need?
Yeah, exactly. Man. That's what I thought.
Man, yeah, okay.
Yep. So I submitted that one, and it's in my demo reel.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to see it, it's just it's there.
Yeah. I'm sure you're the same with me when you can look at it and you can actually see a scene and the pain it brought you.
Yeah.
Like you're just making it and all the hours that you would have put in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now, because if it's on my demo reel, then I must have thought like this was good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not really ashamed of that I did that, because I was learning and it was good for that time. And the fact that I can just look at it, cringe a bit, it just means that I've at least gotten better.
Yeah. Which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Man. Oh yeah, I'm just thinking back on my demo reel and what sucks is when have you sent it out to employers? Is that how you got your job at Graniger? Did you?
Yeah, of course.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. You were applying for the rigging role though, right?
Not necessarily.
No?
No. So here, where were we in the storyline?
In the timeline, you submitted your animation.
Oh, for the workshop?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So, there's still such a large gap.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's continue.
So, after the workshop thing, though, since I already had my mentor with me, and even like for my final thesis, instead of bugging my regular professors at school, we were actually bugging him.
Yeah.
And he was nice enough that anytime we'd send him a message and ask him about something, he'd help us out. So we really gave him a big credit in our fan production.
Yeah.
And And at that point already, we knew a lot about rigging, like more rigging than some of our tutors at uni. That during my second 3D class, I was pretty much just left alone.
Right.
Because it's like, yeah, you probably know how to do more, so I'm not even gonna. And then
you already had a reputation.
Yeah, and sometimes even the teacher would ask us like, "Oh, how do you do this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we just like this and stuff."
Huh.
But going through that, finished school and did the 3D animation.
Yeah.
The fact that we were able to get that thesis out was just a miracle in itself.
Yeah. Because
while my friend and I were working on our thesis, we were actually also working for a kids show.
Wow, okay. Like freelancing while attending university?
Yeah, so it actually just started out as like on-the-job training, because we have to have a certain number of hours of real training or real job experience. And it just so happened that my friend is friends with the art director of the kids show called Batibot back in the Philippines. That Batibot kids show was it was really well known. Like even when I was a kid, it was already like showing a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So they decided like, yeah, okay, we'll take you in and as OJT stuff. And you said you guys can do 3D. So this is the first time, because we've never had 3D before.
Right.
So my OJT training there was to pretty much make all their characters 3D.
Right.
And all their animated segments that used to be 2D are now in 3D.
Yeah, okay.
So, and the only ones who actually knew how to do 3D were me and my friend.
Holy shit. This is a huge task. Well-known characters. So, yeah, okay, so you guys were involved with this?
Yeah.
So the 3D industry at that time was not developed at all. You guys were the pioneers of it.
Well, no, we weren't really the pioneers. It's just that there were more people just still doing 2D stuff. Yeah, you'd hear like some people would do 3D.
Yeah.
But you won't meet them as often.
Yeah.
And if you met like a student who went to animation to study animation or something, or media design, it's all just mostly 2D.
Yeah.
And 3D, because of how technical it is, seems to like scare away so many people at the time.
Yeah, I get that. That's understandable.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool that at least in that studio, my friend and I got to like, since we were the only ones there, our skill level just leapt like super high, because we had to do everything.
Yeah.
We had to like, we'll get a script in from the writers and stuff. And the worst part about it was that beforehand we told them, okay, we could possibly do all the 3D work, like, because just the two of us, no problem. But here are just some ground rules. We'll spend the first few months just making all the characters in 3D.
Yeah.
That means modeling, rigging, texturing, setting all the face stuff because they need to talk. And so we need all the characters beforehand so we can set them up.
And you were like, cool, give me 1 month.
Well, maybe like 1 to 2 months.
How many characters were there?
So we were first given 2 characters.
Yep.
Of one which was a Philippine eagle and one which was like a tarsier.
An eagle.
Yeah. So they're cartoony, so they're anthropomorphic and stuff like that. But they're based on, most of the characters there are based on like Philippine local animals and stuff. So we did that.
Yeah.
We were given like 2 characters at first. I say at first because I thought that it was just those 2. And then we also said, okay, we need the environments and stuff. Yeah. So they told me, okay, you need to make the town which they live in. So okay, I got into modeling that, and it wasn't perfect right away, because the first town I made, we showed it to the producer and we were like, this doesn't really look that good. So I had to remake it again. And that was when my friend and I really developed our painted texture style.
Oh, cool.
Because since it had to be a cartoon, we couldn't really go with the harsh dark shadows or like harsh lighting.
Yeah, are you looking at cel shading and what?
So pretty much everything was just painted texture, and there was no lighting whatsoever.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
So
not even shadows on the ground.
No, not even shadows, because it tended to become too harsh for what they wanted to happen. They'd come up with a bit of an issues where characters look like they were floating.
Yeah.
But they preferred that over like you see this shadow, and then even on the character there's like heavy shadows on them.
Yeah, okay. So for something stylized, it would actually break it. Yeah. Because it's towards realism now with correct shadows.
Yep. And we managed to get all of those models done in time.
Walk me through this texturing process, because stylized characters are difficult.
Yeah.
What did you develop?
What we pretty much did was every character was just a surface shader. Like everything in the scene was just a surface shader.
Completely flat.
Yeah. No shadows whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then we'd go in and paint all the textures of the characters with flat colors. And then when we'll bake an AO just to see like where all some of the shadows are.
Yeah.
Do a little cell of that thing, like really discreet. Like you could almost not tell that they were there. And then put a bunch of black lines so that it looks similar to the original 2D version that they were making in After Effects.
Yeah.
So we got pretty close to that level, but the funny part is rendering all the scenes afterwards was just left to me and my friend. So our laptops were like running on overtime at that. Like, I don't know how many laptops I abused while I was in uni, but yeah.
Yep. No rendering farm, so I was just like, you guys, 1 month.
Yep.
Do this.
Yeah, and we did manage to get all the pre-production stuff ready. Yeah. So we were like, yeah, we're ready. Give us some episodes to do.
Yeah.
And oh my god. So the paper that we got had this wall of paragraph text. And I thought it was just like narration.
Yeah.
But that's actually the character's dialogue.
Oh my goodness.
So and that thing was gonna go out during the weekend. Like Saturday morning.
Holy.
And then we were just like, okay, well, we'll just split the scene. I'll animate this one, you animate that one.
Wow,
we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we were like, oh yeah, but while we're animating this, don't forget we have to do our thesis as well.
Holy shit.
And just to give you some perspective, our thesis was no joke as well, because it was something I wrote, and it was about our NIST team. And going through like their competition to try to save their team from getting like removed as a sports varsity or whatever.
Right.
So there were a bunch of fight scenes on that thing as well.
Oh my goodness.
That entire thing is all on YouTube as well.
But this is a huge amount of work.
It is a huge amount of work, and we were doing it all at the same time.
Yeah.
But we both knew that getting the opportunity to work on that kids show.
Yeah.
Was a big deal, and we couldn't just give that up.
Yeah, of course.
And it's gonna be the first time that they would ever be in 3D. So we're like,
that's huge.
Yeah,
a well-known brand, basically.
Pretty much.
I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have bailed on uni and just completely shifted my attention that way.
No. Well, we were both on scholarship at that time, so we didn't want to waste it. So it was just like, suck it up and let's do this.
Not sleep.
Yeah, and no, that was serious. There were times where we really didn't sleep. So we would get the script, and then we have an entire week to do the whole thing.
Jeez.
So that involved animating and then rendering and then compositing it, and then the final dialogue stuff, thankfully, was just given to the sound engineer. and they handled it and even managed to clean up the editing so it didn't look like we screwed up so much with the timing.
It actually made it to air on TV.
Yeah, we worked on an entire season of it.
Holy shit.
Although it got.
Were you guys getting paid?
So for the on the job training part, no, of course not. But then after we were done with that period, the producer actually talked to us and said like, "Hey, we want to hire you to do an entire season of this."
Very cool.
And we were just like, we still haven't graduated uni at this point. We were still doing that, and then we were just like, we should totally do this, like an entire season, and we're the ones that get to do it, and we were just
nuts. Dude.
Yeah, and we were gonna get paid.
Yeah.
So it's the first time we were gonna get. So by that point, we were like, we're actually 3D animators. Like we're paid 3D animators.
Yeah.
So we did it. Although that one was a little bit more hectic because sometimes, but at least this time we get a little bit more scripts. So like three episodes worth of scripts. And we just have to say like, okay, this is the episode that's going to air first and something like that.
Yeah.
But the problem is that some of them have even bigger wall of text.
Oh my goodness.
And then sometimes when we were reading them, we were like, oh, like, you know how scripts are where they have exterior, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, we don't have this place. Like we did not model this at all. So in 1 week, not only did we animate the characters, but I had to model an entire environment just for these guys to be in. And we were starting to get like really, really smart about doing some stuff.
Yeah.
Like if there was a wall of text at some point, we'd show the character talking.
But then you'd cut to a shot behind the other character.
Exactly. Exactly like that. We'd cut to a shot.
And you're just doing expressions, basically, on the other guy?
Yeah, or we'd be like, they don't really need to say all this other stuff past this point, so we'll just cut up, we'll like write on the script and stuff, and like, can you please take this out? and that kind of happened, like, and if it was an environment, it was fine, but then there were times also where it's like, now say this character is talking to this character. I'm like, wait, who the heck is this?
Yeah.
And then
I have to make a new character?
Yep, pretty much. And then we get the concept right. Oh, it's this one. I'm like, oh my god. And then had to model rig texture and entire
the turnover time, was it like months?
No, it was a week.
A week?
I told you, like we get it, have an entire week to do it. And then it airs.
My goodness.
So there were actually times where... So it was also convenient that my friend and I were both working on the same thesis. And we were both working at the Batibot Studios.
Yeah.
So there were actually... And since I live closer to where the Batibot Studio is and my friend is closer to where we go to school, sometimes I tell him, hey, I'm not going to go to class. Can you just tell our professor to like why, and then I'll go to the studio, work there while he's working on our thesis. And thankfully my friend and I showed enough competence, I guess, to the professors that they didn't really mind if we weren't there. Like we won't be marked as like absent or not showing up, as long as we explain to them like, yeah, we're doing something, here's what we're doing, but we're also doing this. So they were a little bit understanding.
They also knew that you were working for this studio? Okay.
Yeah. So we told them up front that we're working for this, and since it was like something that was well known, they were like, okay, that's fine. And at least you're getting as much experience as you can.
Yeah, of course.
But just to make sure that we finish all the requirements, so attendance wasn't that big of a deal. But if there were important stuff, then we'd both be in. But then afterwards, my friend had a car. We'd like drive to the Batibot Studios and then continue working from there.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes it was a bit of a circus as well, where sometimes I'd get sick, so an entire week episode had to rely on my friend, or like he'll get sick and I had to do an entire episode myself. And
that's rough, dude. And how long did this last for? The entire year?
The entire year, because it was an entire season.
Let me ask, did you get to enjoy it? Or was it just crunch throughout for that entire year?
So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was... I got so used to crunch.
Not only did you enjoy it, did you actually have moments where you could take it in? Take in what was happening?
Oh, yeah. Because... So my friend would like say that some of his family members actually literally gather at the TV on Saturday morning to watch it.
Yeah, okay.
And then on my end, I was told that some of the kids of the house help of my grandma, they love watching Batibol or stuff like that. So I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
and we were just surprised, like. We were just surprised that people would give us positive comments on like, oh wow, good job, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But the entire time that we were working on it, we were like, oh crap, nope, I'm gonna have to like shortcut this. Like, oh, that looks questionable. but we need to get it in. Whatever, just go in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, my mom could even see me at those times where I would be on my laptop working on it, and then I even had a friend from my uni as well who I was actually tutoring on 3D on the side, and she lived near me as well. So I'd even ask her like, "Hey, can I borrow your laptop?"
I got some rendering to do.
Yeah, exactly. And she was nice enough to like lend me her laptop. So I'm animating here.
Yep.
This laptop is rendering, and then once that's done, I'll transfer it out, put in another scene, start rendering, keep animating, and then when it's getting really late, I would go to bed. Both laptops are rendering.
Yeah, so of course. You set up your renders and then go to bed.
But no, the rendering doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And then I have an alarm for like maybe 2
hours. When the render's finished, right?
Yeah, alarm 2 hours later, and then check, and I'm like, okay, render's done, and I'm like, put in the next one, and then go back to bed, and then wake up at 3 a.m, continue doing it, and then wake up at 3 a.m, but now I'm doing my thesis and rendering my thesis part.
Yeah.
And it even got to the point sometimes where so we finished already our stint with Batibot, and we were just full steam ahead on our thesis.
Yeah.
That I would stay over at my friend's house.
Yeah.
And we'd take shifts. So I'm animating, doing all this stuff, and he's sleeping, and then he'll wake up, I'll sleep, and then he'll...
Over the course of this year, you must have leveled up a whole bunch. So the thesis, did that change? Did the quality shift as well, like to accommodate all these new skills that you had?
So the thesis turned out as well as it could have for that time, considering the circumstances.
Yeah.
You can see though that there was barely any polish.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it would be just animate this. Yep, that's good. Go to the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
Because sometimes you'd see like, oh crap, his vest is clipping into his shoulder and stuff like that. Or like, don't got time.
Yeah, I don't want to open that rig up again.
Just move into the next one.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But for the things that we were able to accomplish though, like, I think it was pretty good.
How did that end at Bettybot? How did so you finished the season, and they're like, thank you very much for your work here. We're gonna go back to 2D animation. Like, what happened there?
So what happened there was we graduated. We thanked them for the entire season.
Yeah.
And we just told them that since we graduated already, but we want to pursue other stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. We just told them that if there was anything that they wanted us to do or help with and stuff like that, let us know. But otherwise, we left all of course, since since they paid us for it, it all belongs to them. But we told them it's all there. But if you guys need any help, even if you just want us to come in and teach you how to use this, let us know, because they were really nice to us about it. So my friend would keep in contact with them most of the time, because the studio where Batibot is was also a school, had a regular school as well. So he sometimes, gets to talk to them, and they said that, oh yeah, we're doing fine, but they just moved back to like 2D, and I think they moved to do web stuff now instead of an actual TV series.
You're talking like YouTube kind of content?
Well, they had their own website and stuff,
right?
So you could watch Batibot there.
Yeah.
But I think it was mostly because it was just a really small studio of like 5 people, and then probably some freelancers in and out sometimes. So there wasn't really, I guess there wasn't enough to really sustain an entire season again.
I gotcha.
So they moved online, and we just went our separate ways, which was fine.
Yeah.
That one season was enough of a learning curve.
Yeah.
My friend and I had fun. We look back to it and we joke like, oh god, how did we manage this?
Dude, the whole country enjoyed it, right?
Yeah,
the children.
I hope they
would have influenced like kids growing up.
Maybe, maybe not. If it did, then I wouldn't know, because it's like I've never really heard. My family in general doesn't really watch it, even though they want to watch it because they want to see what I do. I'll just not tell them what time.
Right, okay.
But they'll see it anyway from like, because I have the files then. And then if they want to see it, it's all there.
Yeah.
I even have some images on my
your DVD
ArtStation.
Right?
ArtStation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's all there for everyone to see, and I am really like proud of what I did there.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I hide and say, like, unlike the stuff in my DeviantArt, which is like, please don't look there anymore.
Cool.
It's on my ArtStation, which is like, I like these stuff.
Yeah.
Look at these.
Okay, so the university's wrapping up. You submit your thesis. That's the fighting thing.
Yep.
Okay. You happy with it? You pass?
Yep.
Okay.
Graduated. So I graduated as cum laude in my school, and our thesis went pretty well.
Do they do the thing where like they hire out a theater or something, then everyone watches it together?
Oh, so there's a theater inside our school.
Yeah.
So the end of the year, one of the main things that we have to do is set up an animation festival.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We had an animation festival.
Very cool.
Guests come in, watch it and stuff.
You get dressed up.
Yeah, we got dressed up. Had like the title of our animation printed on the shirt. I don't know where that shirt is anymore. A bunch of it's like how in Armageddon where you have a bunch of stickers or artwork like, oh, you can get this and stuff. It's like well, please enjoy and watch our show.
Very cool.
Yeah, and what was funny was, how the render screen and stuff is there, and it'll look like a bunch of text just scrolling up and down.
Yeah.
My friend, on our booth, we had like a TV just to show like, oh, here are some of the things we did. But then on the top screen, there's like this render box just going and going, and it looked like a cool design. But he was actually rendering one of the episodes for Batibot.
Yeah, of course. Did he not try to hide that?
No, it looked like...
That was real estate.
Well, I mean, nobody could read it. It was going so fast. But at the same time, it was like, heck, look, we're doing 3D. Look at all this fancy 3D text going up and stuff. So we were just laughing about it the entire time until one of our... until our mentor came and he asked, like, what the heck are you rendering?
Yeah. What are you doing here? Rendering?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that was fun. So graduated there. And then I think...
You take some time off. You're like, I'm exhausted. I'm taking the next month off. I'm not doing anything.
No.
No?
No.
What happens?
So I was doing freelance stuff, like doing some modeling work for games.
Yeah.
But then suddenly my mentor called us up and said, "Hey, there's this guy I was talking to, and he wants to set up a studio, and I want to get you guys as junior artists." So we're just like, "Heck yeah!" There's like, we'll do it because there's no interview and we're gonna get paid. And then we were even told, like, it was kind of funny because he was telling us stuff like, "Oh, this is what we'll do in the studio," trying to convince us to like accept it. But we're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it." And then
you didn't even need to hear that. You were already like committed to it.
We were in already.
Yeah.
Because during that time as well, I was even helping. Because remember, I took a workshop from my mentor. We actually took a second workshop with him, which was advanced rigging, and that's when the IKFK stuff started coming in.
Yeah.
So my friend and I were pretty high up there in terms of like rigging already, to the point that even our mentor would pay us to assist him in his workshop.
Very cool.
So that while he's teaching, he doesn't have to stop what he's doing to help students. Instead, if a student has questions, we'll like come up to them, which is why I'm kind of used to it right now, that if someone comes into work and asks me like, "Hey, something's wrong with this rig or something," I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure. Let's fix it up."
Yeah, okay.
So that was continuous up until the studio, the startup studio.
Yeah. What was the studio? You were just doing like commercials?
So it was a startup that was planning to do, I think, movies.
Right.
Animated movies.
Wow. Full length
Animated movies.
Jeez.
And the one thing that really got us hooked was that the VFX...
What year is this? Sorry?
Year? So I graduated 2012. So this was 2013.
Okay.
So I haven't had it's been a non-stop thing for me.
You're on this 3D thing.
Yeah.
This ride.
Yeah. I'm on this ride and I'm enjoying it. So we did that. And then the lead VFX head was actually someone that used to work at Lucasfilm.
Right.
So he worked on the Clone Wars and stuff like that.
Okay.
And my friend and I ended up becoming really good friends with him as well.
Awesome.
So he became our mentor in VFX.
Very cool.
So we did learn how to do the particle stuff and all that. I will say that my friend has much more of a knack for it than I do.
For particles simulation.
Yeah, particles or effects. Like I'm good enough. Like if you tell me like, "Oh yeah, can I have some dust in those particles?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I can simulate that for you," or the pull down it stuff.
Yeah.
But my friend just really like, I don't know, he thinks differently.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it's kind of cool. Like you would complement each other, right? I find that was the same with me, where if a friend of yours was strong in another area, then you get strong in the other area, and then you kind of come together.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what's happening. That's why it kind of seemed to like people that it was a bit of a package deal. Like if you get one, you have to get the other, because like if you get both of us, then you get something really good.
You're only gonna get particles with that guy, but if you want rigging,
so like, you know, both really good at rigging. So we handled most of the rigging for that studio, and then we'll help the VFX lead to do all the VFX, and even did some animations as well. Yeah. Along with our mentor, or basically just do everything. Since we're the juniors, they'll like tell us, "Okay, do this now or do this now." And we were all just like, "Okay, cool, now I'm doing terrain." Like, "Okay, cool, now I'm doing this."
Were you, because you do a whole bunch of like scripting now, were you doing a lot of scripting as you were learning this as well?
No.
As much as... Okay, it was just hands-on kind of stuff?
What happened was my mentor was the one that was into the scripting and stuff. Yeah. And he actually told me that the way he learned how to use Maya was that he locked himself up in his house for a month and did nothing but that. And he taught himself how to do Mel scripting and stuff. Cool. So he was really good at it.
He just had a manual?
Pretty much.
Okay.
So sometimes we do really repetitive tasks, and then eventually we'd be like, okay, this is getting repetitive. Like, oh, look, there's a bunch of lines that actually do it.
Yeah.
Then we'll just slowly like keep putting it on and on.
Yeah.
But nothing too fancy, because I was still a bit uncertain about scripting, because I had a record of almost failing my coding classes in high school.
Right.
So I didn't think I was
weren't a very
at
strong
all.
coder.
No,
Yeah, okay.
not really. But then...
and it kind of put you off, it sounds like?
It did.
Wow.
Like, I was like allergic to it. But then... But considering what I'm doing now...
Yeah, it's funny.
My mom said that it could possibly be that I just didn't have the right use for it.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Like, because I wanted to use it for my and what I was doing, then maybe this is why I understand it a lot better.
Yeah, because you can actually piece things together and actually think of it. Yeah, because you do a whole bunch of it now.
Yep. I do way more, which is like surprising. That's why every time someone comes in and says like, oh, I don't know how to do Python or whatever, I'm like, you can learn it.
Yeah. You look back at your younger self and you're like, pull up a chair.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story about how I got into this.
Yeah, so so the coding part didn't really fully interest me until I actually got here in New Zealand. But yeah, so
you're at a studio.
Mm-hmm.
What are you working on?
So
you meet this guy from Lucas Arts, Lucas Films.
Yep. So the film itself was about top animal agency.
Okay.
Like they're like special agents or something like that. Think of like if they were the penguins of Madagascar, but they were all different animals. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, no, there was this one movie with the penguins of Madagascar where they had this.
Yeah, they had a spin-off.
Yeah, with this special agent like Wolf or whatever, stuff like that.
Okay.
So if they were that thing, that's what we were animating.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if you've seen it, but if you saw my renders of this ancient ruin on ArtStation, which was really based out of the Angkor Wat, like the textures were from Angkor Wat on them, and I modeled that entire thing. That was for the project itself. But since the project is done, I had permission to show it off, so it's there.
How long did you work on it?
So that was for an entire year.
Yeah.
And then after that, the studio decided like, okay, I think we've been spending too much time on this and we're getting burnt out. So maybe we should try doing something else for now. So they started getting contracts for like architectural rendering.
Oh, yeah.
Which wasn't really something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I left.
Did that take off for them? Is that what they still do now after this?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Are they still around?
I'm not sure either.
Wow, okay. So you just cut ties. You were just like, all right,
well, the thing about it is that I didn't purposely cut ties with them. It's just that I haven't really had the need to...
You lost interest.
Yeah. And my mentor actually left the studio. And then when I decided to leave, my friend also decided to leave as well.
Yeah, did you talk about it together?
We did. Like, I wasn't telling him to, like, come along. I was just saying that...
You're thinking about leaving.
I'm thinking about leaving because this isn't something that I really wanted to do, like, the architectural stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we signed on to do this.
Yeah.
And if we're not going to do that, then I'm just going to try to find somewhere else where I can do that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And then... So, eventually, he decided, like, yeah, okay, maybe he'll leave as well. Although, because the VFX lead was friends with my mentor and us, because we were leaving, he said, like, I don't have any more friends here. So
so he bailed as well?
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, well, I hope I didn't start a chain reaction and they hate me for it. But it was all intentional.
Yeah. You got everyone to leave this company.
It was unintentional. And... yeah, so from there, I was just helping out my mentor with his workshops as an assistant up until the point where there was actually a period where he tried to set up another workshop station near where I live, and he would let me handle it, which was great and all. So I was, instead of just assisting, I was also teaching now that workshop. And I was just, 2012, which was, 2013, 7 years ago. I was 21.
Yeah.
And then teaching some students how to do 3D.
Yeah.
And then it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I didn't mind doing it. But I got a message from this recruitment place and said they were looking for 3D artists.
Right. So
I went for it, and they decided to get me. And because of that, I had to tell my mentor, like, I don't think I can.
What was the name of this recruit? Where did you go?
So I ended up in a studio called Dawn Purple Incorporated.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it as well until I got a message from there.
Yeah.
But what they do there is they do some animations that involve Gundam.
Right, okay. Right up your alley.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a chance to animate Gundam. Yeah. But not the new Gundams, like the original Gundam.
Yeah.
So the studio itself was a bit funny. The environment wasn't necessarily the best, but the people there were really nice.
Oh, what do you mean with the environment?
So
it was quite toxic.
So how it works is, when you get there, you're asked to take a test, right? So
an art test.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, we had to animate a character going over a wall, and then afterwards, we had the Notre Dame model, and we had to
smash it,
destruction and stuff. So I'm like, and I'm just fresh off the heels of that other studio where I was animating, doing all this stuff, and also I was under my VFX from Lucasfilm. Yeah, so I'm like, I can
right up your alley.
Yeah, I can totally do this. And I think I kind of annoyed the producer so much because I was told that I finished those tests so fast that the producer got annoyed that we had 2 hours to do the test and I finished it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, okay. This is all in Maya.
Yeah, and it messed up his schedule so much because I was just sitting there doing nothing, staring at the ceiling, and
Were you happy with the what you submitted after 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right. You were like, I could have done a season of this guy.
Yeah. No, because you think about that is I got used to just such fast paced doing stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And all that. And one funny thing about my modeling, by the way, when I was first studying 3D, so you know how they have those videos on YouTube about modeling and stuff, and they're all sped up? I didn't know they were sped up at that time. And I was just telling myself, I have to get as fast as these guys, which I was actually able to do at that time. Yeah. And then it was only later on that one of my friends told me, you do know those things are sped up. And I'm just like, what?
I love that, by the way, the not knowing and you didn't measure yourself by this ridiculous standard. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of that.
So, yeah. So I
wait, did you have to make the Gundam too?
Oh, no.
Okay, it was all provided.
It was all provided. It was all proprietary and stuff. Yeah. So we were just handling animation, simulating, and rendering in that studio. And then, so I finished everything pretty fast. And I was just sitting there. But eventually it told me we'll give you a job offer. So I went to that studio, and it was a bit rough because the producer was pretty strict. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you actually have to go to him, report to him everything that you did. Yeah. And if say you've only finished one task, or you weren't able to finish a task because I don't know, maybe you're just having a bad day and can't seem to figure it out. Yeah. he'll like, why haven't you finished anything? Blah blah blah. Like
yeah,
that.
you'd get grilled.
Yeah, you get grilled out about it. And I will say that when I was young at that time, I was in the mindset of like, if I don't feel like I like the place where I'm working at, I'm just gonna go because why not? So I never really stayed in one place too long.
Yeah,
like 1 year was already long enough time for me.
Interesting.
So in the studio, maybe like after a week, I was just thinking like,
It sounds like the impression just was horrible.
Yeah.
When you say the environment sucked, why? What about it?
So on you're in cubicles, separated cubicles.
Yeah.
Then the producer there is just literally like sitting right there, overseeing everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it when you're just talking and stuff.
My goodness. Yeah.
No, there's no internet on any of the computers. So say if you needed to research on something, you're gonna have to talk to one of the managers and ask if they can research it for you. And it's kind of hard, like if it was something super technical, then you can't just ask them, can you research this? And then they'll try to get us, like they tried really hard to get as much information as they can for you because it's not their fault that it was like that. That's just really how
it was structured. Yeah, but also they don't know what the hell. Yeah. Do they have technical knowledge?
No.
Okay, so they sucked. You're actually having to Google search through them.
Yeah. So what usually happens sometimes is like from that time, if there was something I couldn't figure out when I get home, that's when I'll do it, and then I'll come back the next day and then go over it.
Yeah. But you're saying it didn't last too long.
So I was there for about 6 months.
Okay.
So, I was there doing. My first week was pretty bad. After a week, I was just saying that maybe I don't like this place or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, why did I want to leave that studio?
Yeah.
And then like, is it because of the work? And then I thought like, no, like animating the Gundams is pretty fun.
Yeah.
The way they're going about it is pretty fun. And I'm seeing like a whole new style of doing things. Yeah. And also the studio itself is a Japanese owned company. So I'm kind of getting a glimpse of how they do it in that industry there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to,
more of that.
Soak that in because back in my head there's always a dream like, hey, maybe you go to Square Enix one day.
Yeah. You're working on the next Advent Children.
Yeah. And so, it's good to learn this. Yeah. And it was really interesting to see what they did and how they do stuff with the Gundam itself. So the rules were kind of insane. Like Gundam is not a he or she. It's Gundam.
Yeah.
And the way that it seems to be seen or portrayed is that like Gundam is their national hero or something.
Yeah.
So there are so many rules where you have to always make sure that in every scene Gundam looks cool.
Yeah.
And
I get that.
Even if he is losing, he has to look cool while he's losing. And I'm just like, okay, so he gets punched and he's flying off in the distance, but he's
still cool.
Doing this awesome pose of like, dang, that is cool. and even instances where like, okay, and in this scene he needs to be angry.
Yeah.
And he's a robot face that doesn't move. So I've had to learn some tricks of like, if you just tilt his head just a little bit in certain directions, his visor would cover his eyes and look like angry eyes.
Oh, cool.
And you end up with angry Gundam. But I did like working in that studio, and the lead animator was really nice. And eventually I was struggling the first week because there was this one animated scene that I just couldn't get right no matter what.
Yeah.
And I even ended up staying at like 11 in the evening. Like everyone already left and I was still there trying to figure it out.
Right.
And
you couldn't get it to look cool.
I couldn't get it to look cool. And I couldn't leave because I'd have to tell the producer like, I got nothing done today.
Jeez.
So I was there until 11 and then he went home and then I ducked out.
Oh my goodness.
But I came in the next day, and that was actually the night that I decided like, do I still want to stay here? And I just said like, you know what, just go ahead and do it. Like, why are you letting this one? If it's just one person that's messing it up for you, then
Tell me, so you're struggling on the scene. Could you not ask someone for help with the scene and animating it? Or was it on you? Did you feel like it was your responsibility?
The lead animator was helping me and giving me suggestions, but it's just that they were so vague and like, it just isn't working. It's not working. And also the rig was really weird that every time I move something, it will move another piece.
Yeah.
So it actually became regular for me to they'll give me the rig, but I'll disassemble it in the animation scene because I really needed it to do something.
Yeah. That the rig just wasn't capable of. Yeah.
So, plus points for like, I know how to do this and I'll make it do exactly what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then the next day came in fresh and stuff, and I managed to finish it right away. And then I was just like, okay, maybe you were just having a bad day yesterday, and it's not so bad. So it worked like that to the point that I was one of the fastest animators there. And at the end of the 6 months, they actually told me they were going to offer me, because I was just a probie at that point, they were going to offer me like a full-time employment, which I ended up refusing at that time.
Yeah.
Because I told them that I have plans to like try to go overseas.
Yeah.
And work overseas and stuff.
Yeah, you're already thinking about going overseas at that point. Yeah. Okay.
I told them like, I have plans to do that. But, if it doesn't work out and you guys are still looking, then maybe I might come in.
Yeah. So,
after that time, I went back to doing my freelance. Well, not really went back to doing my freelance because I was still doing my modeling stuff while I was in that studio.
Yeah.
So I just continued doing that. And then at some point ended up teaching at the uni in iAcademy back home, which was this new digital media school and stuff.
Very cool. Yeah.
So I spoke to the head of the animation department there, and it was like, he's a really cool dude. I liked where his vision was for like, educating the upcoming students. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll like, if you guys want me, I'll come here and teach.
Yeah.
So I ended up teaching for like an entire term.
Cool.
Which ended up being weird because I was only supposed to teach them animation, but I ended up teaching them modeling, rigging, and animation.
Yeah, okay.
Because the previous professor that they had was so bad that every student hated him and they didn't learn anything at all.
Oh, that really sucks, man.
So even the head of the department was just apologizing to me like, well, that's...
Why was... I have moments like that where there are people that are in the industry that shouldn't be, and it gets me real sad about the whole situation because they're typically in there because of what they have worked on, but their qualifications are not relevant now. Sounds like something similar.
Yeah. So that's what ends up happening. But I guess the old phrase, like, if you can't do,
teach.
And
I hate that phrase, by the way.
But it's true.
It is true.
That's the thing. Like, if you could do something, then you'd be out there doing it. Yeah. But if nobody wants to even get you to do it,
I know how true the phrase is. Yeah. I just don't like it.
I don't like it either. But that's the nature of how things tend to happen.
Have you heard Andrew Krause? Do you know who Andrew Krause is?
No.
The anatomy tools guy from Australia.
No.
He's worked on a whole bunch of feature films. His saying is the one I like, which is, those who do must teach. And it's very much one of like more of like an empowerment kind of thing, where if you're skilled, you better recognize that people are willing to learn and you should teach those people.
Yeah.
I really hate the other phrase.
I think that's kind of the way that my mentor actually went through did his things. Because he was really good.
Yeah.
And he
recognized it, yeah.
He recognized it and really spent so much time teaching people how to do it. Like, it didn't matter to him if he was doing projects or not, but he was telling me that he really wanted to, at one point, he even wanted to set up a school.
Very cool.
And stuff. So, you know, if people like him were the ones teaching, then I think we would have had more students really into doing 3D and the 3D environment back home, and the whole job stuff would have been much better.
Yeah. I always think of what I would do myself. Like, I haven't taught, like, as that being my role. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I do that, like, on a day-to-day at work.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I always, like, do have these fleeting thoughts of, like, what would happen if I did actually teach?
I think you should.
And how... Hey, I'm at Grant, dude. It's always, like, a thing that I think about. And I would love to, obviously. But I have prior commitments.
Yeah. The thing about it is you don't... It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go straight teacher at uni. Even if you're just one of those people, like what my mentor did was, oh, look, there are a bunch of students at uni, and you're just like, hey, if you need tutoring,
if you're interested,
I can do like a one-on-one, and I'm pretty sure they'd be like grateful to be able to have like one-on-one time with someone that actually like knows what they're doing. Yeah, because that's the thing about 3D though, is like it's so technical. In a group setting, you want to even if you give them 100%, everyone's probably gonna get only just a fraction of whatever you taught them.
Yeah that is tricky. But the whole, do you keep tabs on like what's happening in the industry and how online learning is like huge now? And it's actually like a really legitimate way to go about teaching a lot of people. Like a lot of legends in the industry are doing online mentoring, and there's a lot of success there as well. Yeah. So I think I like that because it's available to a lot of people. You're not geographically tied to anything. It's entirely online. And yeah, these guys have like, decades of experience. Yeah. So like, I think that shift.
You have a decade of experience.
Well, yeah. Mine is so specific though, and I'm hoarding that. Like, yeah, teaching would be interesting, but it's very specific, and I wonder how relevant it will be in 5 years, because I think a lot of the technical stuff might not matter. Do you know what I mean?
No, not really.
It obviously depending on what you work on. But you'll see with hardware improvements, like with these new consoles, loading is apparently like not an issue. So the people that had to optimize assets to be like lightweight when loaded is probably not going to be a thing. So you just make full-blown assets and throw it into a console and it's just loaded. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that technical stuff around that won't be a thing anymore.
But then I did read up on one of the posts of my old clients when I was freelancing though, is that he develops games, and after he saw that thing where like, meshes, it doesn't even matter if you can have this 1 million mesh
the
thing.
Unreal Engine 5 thing?
Yeah. He actually said like he's kind of against it because it's just gonna promote laziness.
Yeah, poor workflows.
Yeah. And what will happen is, instead of say, okay, you have this new tech which will unlock all this new paths for you. Yeah. Instead, you're gonna be like, well, this doesn't matter anymore. So I'm just gonna go about doing that, and because the new tech can handle it, you're just taking up all that, say, space. Yeah. Because you're lazy, instead of like, now that this part is a lot easier and doesn't take up as much performance, I can push this other part now.
I see, but you see the other side of that, right? You to have it available is more beneficial than to not. Yeah. So like the thing that your tutor's saying is of course, correct, but also being able to do it and not have any large technical repercussions is very appealing to a lot of people. That workflow, by the way, when I say it's very video game specific, I mean, if you're making the next Grand Theft Auto and every piece of memory matters, you're going to take full advantage. Everything that applied last generation still applies because you're pushing everything. If you are making a walking simulator where you just walk around a pretty environment, you're the only character, no effects, no monsters, you can go bananas and just drag in photogrammetry assets, whatever. It doesn't matter because it is so catered and so narrow that you can do that. A single developer can do that.
Yeah, so I mean, in that sense, I think we're still thinking about the same thing though, where it's like you actually take advantage of the increases in performance with the new tech. You're not like, I'm gonna make a walking simulator, but I'm gonna have PS2 graphics, and for some reason it's maxing out. Like, my computer is overheating already. You're like, what is this?
well, you also know, like in game development or just making models, that you don't do the idiotic thing of taking a mesh and ZBrush, subdividing it like 8 times, and then sculpting. It's like the worst way to work. You want to work up each subdivision level, that kind of thing. Yeah. You want to work base forms, secondaries, and actually, these kind of things. These are correct practices to have. And a lot of those principles still apply to game development. I think those will never go away, but it really does matter, like what you're working on. And I think like the technical things, developments and advancements are good, and to enable like more people is good too. And I know that, like, I'm very conscious about like what my role is, and like how the goalposts are shifting. Yeah, it's just like I'm also working with a lot of new artists as well, and it's interesting to see what they do and don't do, because things that I'd consider to be very important, like UVs, like might not be a priority for them, which I find very interesting, because I don't think UVs are going away anytime soon.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with like topology. Our the thing we keep always coming back to.
Yeah, topology is pretty funny, especially with rigging. It's
it's
the
like,
most important thing.
I mean, it's good that we finally got to a point that we're, I'd say, stable. It's not perfect, but it's enough for us. But when
I think actually we could butt heads about topology, because I think we have, and we could probably record it as well, and get into it. But let's get you to New Zealand. Where are you on your story?
All right, so
you're leaving?
I was teaching in iAcademy.
Yep.
And then finished. So that was my first time teaching in an actual structured environment. Unfortunately, I had to like fail one of my students.
Which might be the most painful thing.
It was like, I didn't think it would be so bad, but because I might have taken it too personally, in the sense that because I had to fail him, it reflects on me like I failed him as a teacher. But then I'm thinking of, when I talked to my head of department, he just said, it really happens. Also, it's not because you failed him. He didn't submit his finals.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's like, I can't just make up a number and have him magically pass. Like, I even gave them a free pass. Or like, I'm not even gonna bother counting attendance anymore.
Okay.
If you just submit everything I'm asking for, we're good. Like, you can go home, do it, submit it, and then like we'll be fine. But he didn't, so I had to.
To fail him.
Yeah.
Was he? Were you pretty close with your students? Like that particular student?
Not really. Like I do.
So he would have understood. He, she, this person.
He should have understood. So what happened was, after I've already like given everyone their grades, and I've let him like, okay, you failed. You didn't give me this, and not even for lack of trying. I even like messaged them like, hey, this is the cutoff time. for your submission.
Yeah.
And I got no reply from him at all.
Yeah, okay.
So in the end, I just had to like give him no points for it, and he failed. And he was like telling me like, "Oh, I can't fail, or else my parents would be mad." And I'm just like, "This has nothing to do with your parents. You didn't." And I told him, you know, if your parents are gonna have a problem with it, then I'll be waiting in the school faculty.
Yeah.
Then they can come talk to me. I stayed there for an entire day, and he didn't come in at all. And I think the
guy's got a bad attitude.
I guess it's just you get students like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't the bad kid. I just guess that he just didn't care about what the subject was or whatever.
Yeah. So what's interesting with that is, I'm sure you have the same way. When you got into 3D, it was the thing that you were all about.
Mm-hmm.
It was on your mind.
Yep.
You couldn't stop thinking about
Yep.
it. Yeah, and to see that kind of stuff, you're like, how the hell could this even happen? Like,
Yeah.
aren't you thinking about it?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about it like that, but then I realized as well, like, not everyone is as hardcore about it as me. And I guess it might also be because, so like I said, at that year, I was about like 22 or something when I did that teaching.
Young ass dude.
Yeah, young. I was young, and you know, this was uni, so you know the students aren't a bunch of teenagers that don't. They're like young adults already and stuff. And I guess because of that, they kind of felt that, you know, I'd be like pretty just casual with them and not really expect much. But because I came in an environment for like, this is something I love doing.
Yeah.
And I want to really teach you, because if this is something you love doing, then I want to give you all the info you need so that all the hard things I had to do, you don't have to do it anymore.
You just listen up.
Yeah. Like I'll speed up the process for you.
Yeah.
And you can probably we could get on the same level faster. But that didn't happen. And my age thing actually caused some issues one time. Like,
you're telling us some old guy?
Well, not really. It's just that I was in the middle of teaching my class, and one of the security guards came in and was telling me that only teachers were allowed to sit on the teacher's lecturer's desk.
Yeah.
And then I had to explain to him, I am the teacher.
Cool.
And stuff. And also,
did he believe you?
Yeah, he believed me, and then
don't you have like a security card or something?
Yeah, I do. I have an ID and stuff. So, but the thing about I didn't take it too personally anyway. But after that, the security guard remembered me so much that I didn't even have to show him my ID anymore coming in. He'll just recognize me and stuff.
You just give him the nod in the morning.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was a bit fun. So yeah, after that stint, I was just that's
how long were you teaching for?
About one term, so that's about 3 months.
Yeah. And then what happened afterwards?
Oh, I think I got my timeline a bit confused. I may have taught first before going into DPI. So yeah, DPI was the last thing before coming here. Yeah. So my mom and I actually attended, just so happened to see this Facebook post about this agency for like New Zealand. And they were like, oh yeah, the lecture thing is free, or the conference is free if you want to come and attend. Yeah. So we just decided, well, we got nothing to lose. Cool. Let's go to it. And then I found out that, oh yeah, like when we talked to them, they reviewed our papers and they said like, oh yeah, I'd make a pretty good candidate to come over here. Yeah. And since it was, and even my mom would have made a pretty good candidate to come over here. Yeah. And since it was my dream to work abroad, and even like if I managed to get into like Weta here or something like that, because Lord of the Rings is such a big deal at that time as well. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah. And even my mom's like, yeah, let's do this. But in the end, she decided that only I'll be the one going. Okay. Since the route that I had to take was through studying again, and she didn't really want to do that. I gotcha. So I'd have more success if I just went on my own. Yeah. So
Was that pretty hard for you? Were you excited?
I was excited about that, but it was gonna be the first time that I ever left the country on my own.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone here.
Yeah.
At all. So I think I was pretty miserable on my plane ride. Yeah. Like from getting dropped off at the airport, I think I was crying already.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the heck's gonna happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's scary.
So from the airport on the plane, cried myself to sleep, so I didn't really remember much of the thing.
Yeah.
Got here to Auckland, I'm like, oh, okay. This is where the
with the recruitment. Wait, with the recruitment, what do they set you up with? They were like, you can come over here. You can actually work in New Zealand.
Yeah. So they told me that if I come in, study.
Yeah.
I could get a work visa and work here.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was actually just on the mindset of, whoa, if I study here, I'll get a certificate that actually means something.
Okay.
Because apparently, because of the educational structure in the Philippines, even though though I have a bachelor's degree,
yes,
some countries will still think that's like a college diploma or something like that.
Yep.
But it's a bachelor's degree. I spent like 3 years in a thesis doing it.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, if I got a diploma here or like a certificate course here, then at least that one's already internationally recognized. Yeah. And that was really appealing to me, especially if I wanted to work in other places.
Yeah, of course.
So I wasn't even thinking about the work stuff either.
Right. Okay.
And I wasn't even thinking about the residency stuff either. Anyway, I just said like, I'll get the diploma. If I find work here, that's fine. Yeah. And my family agreed that if it doesn't work out, then you come back.
Cool.
So
you had a backup plan. You had a goal in mind. This is all good stuff.
Yeah.
Where'd you study?
So I studied in Edens. And I was told that it was formerly Lifeway in Snell's Beach. So it was in the middle of the city. And yeah, so...
Who else was there?
What do you mean, who else was there?
Who else from work is from there?
Oh, okay. So, Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson, first guest.
Yeah.
He was teaching there, right?
Yeah, he was my teacher.
Cool.
Yeah, so when he told me that he was applying at Grinding Gears, I like went to Ivan, like, hey, did someone named Jackson like send you anything? and then I told him, like, he's really good.
Yeah. And oh, right, yes, because you came to Grinding Gear before he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was at Hoo first, but then I left before he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people were at Hoo, right?
Yeah.
Then I guess we just took all the good ones.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so you go to Eden's 1 year course,
right? Yeah. So
you actually met your wife there.
Oh yeah. No, well, I didn't meet my wife in Eden's.
Oh, okay.
Like, so the agency, the immigration agency, actually booked my my first place to stay accommodation for 2 weeks. Like in advance for me, because I didn't know where the heck to do anything here was.
Yeah.
So they got me a place for 2 weeks. It just so happens that accommodation, the school that my wife went to, was also booked there.
Right.
So I ended up like coming there on the first day, and then my wife arrived the next day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she wasn't my wife yet there. I've never met her yet.
Yeah.
But and we both live in Manila. Never met each other there. And destiny happened. We just met in that one place and worked out. But yeah, so I was actually told that if I study here, most of my classmates will be like people who have also had experience already, and you better prepare yourself because these are gonna be like really good people.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like, oh fuck. So I was studying up until I left. And then I got here and I'm like, oh, so these guys were just the students that studied from the previous...
Oh, right. The previous intake.
Yeah, and I was just like...
This was like a second year thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm just like... Huh.
Yeah, you start asking questions of like, oh, what kind of experience do you have? And then they're like, we just did the first year.
Yeah. So there was only one other person, like another Filipino named Mike as well. he was actually from Singapore as a computer programmer, but he really wanted to pursue animation and stuff like that. So he moved to New Zealand to study that.
Right.
And I met him there.
Yeah.
And he became one of my close friends. And he's the one that actually helped me get into like coding.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
I kind of felt bad because at some points he was like explaining Python classes to me. And I think after the 5th time he explained it to me and I still couldn't wrap my head around it. I just said I understood it because I was just feeling so bad. And I was just like, I'm so sorry, I'm so stupid that I don't get this.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, he was really nice. So I owe him a lot for like the
taking time,
getting the coding stuff.
Yeah.
And he actually helped me in building my first rigging tool.
Very cool.
And that helped out a lot because that's what I sent in as well to get into grinding gear.
Yeah, for sure.
So
timing was really interesting too because I think that really worked in your favor.
Yeah. So I studied in Edens for about a year, met a bunch of cool people there, made some friends, met Jackson, and
what was the year?
The year 2015.
Yeah, okay.
The year was 2015.
Very cool.
And I was in a unknown land, and the future was unsure.
Yeah. 2015. You're in Edens. You graduated, obviously. You also did quite well.
Yep.
And then Who's hiring.
Yeah. So how I got into Who's was because of Jackson, actually.
Yeah.
So graduation was coming up. And I was looking for like places to like work, and there didn't seem to be a lot. And Gameloft just shut down.
Right.
And the funny part about this was a recruiter contacted me about the job in Gameloft as a technical director,
right,
and stuff. But I was still studying at that time, and he told me that I can apply there, but I'm gonna have to stop studying. And in my head, I'm just like, my family paid yay amount of money.
Yeah, huge amount of money.
Yeah, because I was a foreign student.
Yeah.
To study here. I'm not gonna just
walk away from that.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna drop that and come out with nothing. What if that thing at Gameloft didn't work out? And now what happened?
Yeah, aren't you lucky that you like declined on that?
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so you passed on Gameloft.
Yeah.
Gameloft unfortunately closed down.
Yep.
They were a big deal.
Yeah, they were. Like, that's why like I got a lot of postings for like, working in Gameloft and blah 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 like that. But I'm just like, I'm not gonna give up on this thing that could be something that would be helpful in the future.
Yeah.
Just in the hopes that this thing now will work.
Yeah.
So continued studying, graduated, and then when it was almost graduation time, I ran into Jackson in the coffee club in the city.
Yes.
Well, I think while he was back from Snell's Beach, because while I was studying, after he taught us for that term, he was already recruited by Hoo. And actually a lot of the tutors in Edens got recruited by Hoo because it was also like life ways or something.
I don't think I've told this story like on the microphone, but I was actually recruited.
Oh, really? What happened to that?
I humbly declined.
Oh.
Yeah. A very, very long time ago. Lifeway and Hoo are kind of like tied together.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so as soon as... This is going very far back. This is as soon... Like, first year at Grinding Gear. Long ass time ago. The principal or whatever reached out to me and said there are positions like, we think you'd be a good candidate, whatever. And then, I just started at Grinding Gear and I was like, I already got a job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it worked out for you.
I did do some research where I was like, Snell's Beach, like, where the hell is this place? Like, and what are the things to do out in Snell's Beach? So, in a weird situation, I might have went there. Yeah. I don't know, if this Grinding Gear thing didn't work out.
In another parallel universe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So you moved there, right?
Yeah.
Because Snell's... How far away is that?
So Snell's Beach is... Have you driven to Warkworth?
No.
Okay. I'd say from the city, it would take you about like maybe an hour 45.
Yeah, okay.
To drive there all the way to the studio in Snell's Beach. So that one was pretty tough.
It sounds lovely though. Like the Snell's Beach, like are you on a beach?
It's in the
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. Like they're literally cows right beside the
That's
studio.
cool.
It is cool. Yep. But once you're done with work, there's nothing to do afterwards.
You just roll out a towel on the beach, lay on the beach.
The time I was there, it was like winter, so it was dark immediately.
Yeah.
So,
how long were you there for?
I was there for about 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And why?
So, a bunch of reasons. So, after Jackson gave me his volunteered himself as a reference for me to be able to get in there, and my friend Mike was also working there as well.
Yeah.
When I got there, that's the first time I realized how far it was
from Auckland.
Yeah, from Auckland.
Yeah.
And my wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, were
you were doing the long distance thing.
Like she was staying. We were both staying at one of my uncle's house. He's a friend of my dad's. Mm-hmm. He let us rent out a room in their place.
That's cool.
So we were both staying there, and I had to I had to stay in Snell's Beach for like the entire week, and then during the weekend I'll take a bus going back.
Right. Okay.
So at least I could spend the weekend with her.
Yeah.
And that got really frustrating because I had to do that. I didn't have a car.
Yeah. And
also I still had my old Philippine license.
Yeah.
Until I eventually, and the driving tests here are really hard.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah. Because I'm used to driving back home where there's rules and you can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
But here there's so many rules.
Yeah, and roundabouts.
And I'm reading the book and it's confusing and like, is this okay? Is this not okay? And
tell me, is the Philippines pretty hard on the horn?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's one of those places.
It is. That's why. Although here, like you barely ever hear it, and I've gotten so used to it that even if someone cuts in front of me, I forget should like honk in front of them. But I don't know. So yeah, I did that thing, and I wasn't really enjoying it too much. Yeah. But then I needed work because I already graduated at that time.
Yeah.
Then eventually, it got a little bit easier when I got a car, and my wife and I moved to another place in Browns Bay.
Yeah.
So it cut my drive time going to just 1 hour.
Nice.
So 1 hour going in the morning and 1 hour going back.
Oh, you actually you were living in Browns Bay and you would drive there to work?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
It's within the same 3-month time span.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was working there doing some projects. And then, you know how I said I don't really stay in a place too much, and I was too long. And
you say that, but you've been at Granny for a little while.
We'll get to that one, but the thing about it is that is unusual. Like even if I'm thinking about it now, it's really weird.
Yeah. Okay.
But what happened in Snell's is that I think there was some sort of managing issue. Like I didn't mind it at first, but the longer I stayed there were some kind of a bit of red flags coming up, and the people there were really nice.
Yeah.
But I just think that you can be nice, but it doesn't mean you know how to manage something. And things happened, and when a big event happened, I just said, okay, yep, no, just
Can you talk about what happened?
I don't know, so I'm just gonna stay vague about it.
Okay.
But what happened was, after that big event, they did say that, we can try to restructure so that this project that you were on, we'll move you to another one.
Yeah.
and I didn't even bother taking them up on that because I'm just like, this is too weird, and the fact that it happened once makes me feel like this is probably gonna happen again. So I had no prospects whatsoever, actually. So, but I still decided, and I told my wife at that time that I'm gonna leave. Like I won't have work, and I'm really sorry. But I think I at least saved enough to like cover so far while I look for something. And you know, my wife was pretty understanding about that, and she said that if it looks problematic, then don't stay there. And so finished up my 3 months up until my contract ended. And then I wasn't working anymore. Okay. And then...
Was that stressful?
It was stressful because we just moved to Murray's Bay specifically. And I needed to find work as well because I still had my work visa from graduating, where if you study, they give you a work visa for like 1 year. It's open to work, so it's not tied to any employer. So I needed to find something because mine was gonna expire in a couple of months.
Wow. Okay.
And so I did that, and I was just sending off reels everywhere. Like, not even big studios, just anyone looking for like a rigger. Well, not exactly rigging, but a 3D artist. And I was lucky enough that one of our family friends here introduced me to one of his friends who worked at Sky, and they actually offered me like some freelance jobs that I could do for them.
Very cool.
While I was doing so. I wasn't necessarily like no money coming in. It's I just did that, and I was only unemployed for about a week.
Oh, so you weren't too worried. For that week, you were killing yourself, but
for that week, I was able to get the work already for. Within that week, I was able to get work for Sky because they gave it to me. It wasn't a big deal, but at least I got paid to do stuff.
Yeah, you're getting income.
But it just so happens, like, I was thinking, what was that one studio that everyone kept talking about before while I was in uni? And then my friend told me, oh yeah, it was Grinding Gears. Oh. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, I have nothing else. So I sent an email to support at Grinding Gears from your old website and stuff. And it didn't even say anything because there was no job postings anywhere for Grinding Gears. And I just said like, hey, I don't know if you have any openings, but I'm blah blah blah. I'm a 3D artist, and I also specialize in rigging and animation. And here's my demo reel, and here's something I made. And I think it was because of the rigging tool. And it was displayed on my rigging tool. I think that actually caught Eric's attention because I got an email from Eric afterwards saying, did you make that rigging tool? And then I just said, yes, I made it, and I have all the code for it and all that stuff. And then that's when he asked me for an interview. And I was like, oh my God.
Was that a quick turnaround?
It was pretty quick, actually.
Awesome. We were... Yeah, to catch you up on like grinding gear.
What was it on your side of things?
Grinding gear at that time, small studio. So like we had very early on. It was just a few artists, generalists. I think George, the artist before me, he actually did like rigging, like the original characters, which is why they look like that. And when we got animators on, we then used third-party tools, and the animator would actually be the one to rig monsters coming in. And obviously, people know that at Path of Exile, you're not just rigging bipeds; it is everything and anything. So it's quite a large task, and so we had Sam on. Ed was there, and the situation, because I remember sitting with Sam, we were actually interviewing you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we needed someone to just get in there and help out because we wanted the animators to actually just animate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was an opening for you.
Mm.
And you must have been like the lone rigger for a long while.
Yeah. I do want to ask though, since I probably never asked this, but like, what convinced you?
The impression?
Yeah.
So you go away, you have this interview, you hang out, you talk. It's the attitude. So it was... Yeah, I remember Sam saying this, and it was just like, to say, look, if I don't know how to do it, I will find out how to do it. It just insinuates that I will get results, and I'm willing to like learn as well. Mm-hmm. And that's very powerful. And yeah, it was just right place, right time as well. We needed a rigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said the right thing, so...
Nice.
Yeah, and you've been with the company ever since.
Well, I'm pretty grateful actually to you and Sam for that. So,
but it was an easy decision. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, like for me in that situation, like the moment that Eric told me like, "Hey, can you start working here?" I was just like, "Thank God."
Yeah.
Like I was sort of losing my mind already because I didn't know what was gonna happen, and I didn't even want to be like a burden on my wife that she was the only one working and stuff like that. So yeah, I was pretty grateful when I got in.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Topology. You want to talk about topology a little bit?
Sure.
I come at it video game assets. We work on a video game. Mm-hmm. We make video game assets. Mm-hmm. And that triangles are necessary when making video game assets. Mm-hmm. What do you got?
So, okay, I'll bring you back to when I first got in.
Yeah. What did you notice? What are your first impressions of the company?
So I was doing models for video games. Like I told you, like I was doing freelance stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would use triangles there, but it would be in like I brought the same mindset when I came to Grinding Gears. Like put it somewhere where it makes sense and it's not gonna screw the next person over. Mm-hmm. So when it came to those areas that had heavy deformations and squashed into itself, shoulders and stuff, sometimes that one triangle could mess things up completely. So I that's why I don't like it there. Yeah. But feel free to shove it anywhere else you want.
Yeah, okay. The main characters that we have for Path of Exile 2, we've shown them. Mm-hmm. That I consider that like a really big victory. I remember we talked about them a lot. We worked on them together. Establishing like a base mesh, just talking about it. Yeah. It was so grinding it for me has been great because I've seen all of it, and I've been able to grow with the company, and so you can look at the old characters and be like, these are a pile of garbage. Yeah. But you can also understand why it was like that. I'm not sure if you can, but I definitely could because of resources and things like this. And when we started with those characters and doing research for them, it was very obvious that we needed a solution and base meshes and stuff like this. And it was actually interesting because when you have an idea, I think this goes for everything. When you have an idea that's different and it changes a lot of things that you then do, discussion happens. Yep. Very interesting discussions. And early on, I think Eric was pushing for clothes under... Do you remember this?
What? Clothes?
He was like saying, remember how we were like, look, we want... You want basically naked characters under armor. Mm-hmm. That way you treat it as 0 and all armors would be 1. Yep. And where a sleeve didn't exist, you can always fall back. Mm-hmm. But that was actually quite an involved conversation. Yeah. And looking back on it, it's like, yeah, this is like the obvious step. Yeah. But man, that was quite a
that took months.
Yeah.
And stuff. But like you were saying, when you guys were making the first characters, and what year was that?
The first characters. That would have been before I started. It would have been like 2006.
Right. Okay. So if they made them in 2006, I didn't study 3D until 2011. So of course, so many things about topology have changed already. So I was already at this mindset of like how things were the best outcome for deformations and stuff like that. The rules may have been different before because of the restrictions or something like that, like how in those old games in Tomb Raider where it's not even one model, it's a bunch of blocks going to each other like that. Yeah. So I do understand where it was coming from, but the whole thing about the new characters, and this is something that I really bring up every time there was a discussion about it, was that it didn't seem like the old characters were prepared for the amount of MTXs that they currently have.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Because it doesn't even seem like that was something that was MTX in general was an idea that they really wanted to pursue. I feel like it just suddenly like we could probably put like an MTX or something.
I think it really happened exactly like that.
Because it shows.
Yeah.
If you had a plan to like give your characters different outfits,
helmets
throughout the game and stuff, then why would you have modeled their clothes with them already? Because then you're just making it very redundant with like how characters are wearing a boot on top of a boot, or a glove on top of a glove.
Yes, exactly.
So that's why when it came to the new characters, I was really adamant for pushing like just make them a base model. Make them naked, because you're gonna put so much stuff on top of them, and we're having so many problems already with just their default armor already clipping with something new. So now you're gonna have to come up with a new restriction for the new one just because the old one was like this.
It was very much I think we're on the same page. But it was just like, why would you commit to more pain?
Exactly. Like we already know that we already know that this is really hard. Why are we gonna do it again?
I've said this before to people, but man, those old characters, they must have been at the time, a couple thousand of dollars. But the amount of R&D to accommodate all the armors that have come through, all the time to actually make animations work with them now, it would. The amount of money that is put into those horrible characters is so grand. Like, it like looking back, is it worth it? A lot of people would argue like, no.
I'm also on the thing of like, no, especially since we're already working on the new ones. And I always keep the mindset of we should probably be thinking ahead. Because even for the old ones, who knows how long we're gonna decide to even keep those. So if we're pushing for the new ones, then whenever I get a question about like the concept is like, hey, will this work with our characters? I always tell them, if we're gonna do it for the new characters, you need to do this. Stop trying to make it work for the old one, because
they're a write-off at this point.
We'll find a way to make it work with the old characters no matter what. But the thing about it is, if we say, I have this new MTX, I'll make it work with the old characters. And then, it's time to bring it to the new characters. And because we prepared them for the old ones, we now have to remodel, cut it up, or do all these things.
I know. It's not,
double the work.
It's not a good workflow. It's really unfortunate for the old characters. The topology thing. How low? You said you worked at a video game studio. What were the poly counts? What were resolutions?
So there was a time where I'd be given like 15,000 to 20,000 tries.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then other times would be 5 to 6. The thing about the I get the 15 to 20,000 try ones sometimes, and then I'm done, and it's under 10K.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and he's telling me like, could you put more detail? But then it's just like, it's such a stylized character.
Yeah. It doesn't even need.
And I have this. Yeah, the silhouette is there.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, if you want me to bump it up, I'm pretty much just adding stuff for no reason.
Yeah.
So
did you fight back? With that particular example?
Only once.
Okay.
Because after I explained it to him afterwards, and it looks like how he wanted, and it will deform properly.
Yeah.
He said, "Okay."
That's very much the checklist. Silhouette, deformation, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And in our case, I guess, like if it can turn off appropriately, yeah. Yeah. So man, that was really fun, by the way. Like working on the new characters.
Yeah, it was.
And I guess you never really stopped working on them, right?
No, they're still we're still working on them because like I just want to make sure that whatever troubles we've had with the old characters, if we're bringing it to the new game and with the way that they with Chris, Eric, and Jonathan want to make the game last longer, I wanted to put it in an enough level that
it can accommodate.
Yeah, it can accommodate, like, 10 years later, it would still work fine.
Yeah.
People that come in new and are working on it won't question us.
Yeah.
Why is it done this way or why is it horrible?
Yeah.
And as well as anything that they may decide to think of in the future, it's ready for it.
Path of Exile, I'm talking to the listeners now, is like, Path of Exile is such a special animal where you can't necessarily look at what the competition is doing. You can't say, Naughty Dog is doing this, therefore it should work for us. Because we have MTXs that will remove a head entirely from a character. And now you're left with this transition of neck to no head and a floating skull. These are things that like no other studios probably think of, but like we can't show that. Like we actually have to make that look kind of correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Like MTX is definitely like a huge spanner and accommodating the variations.
It is interesting, and as well as for how much they say that, we need to set rules. We also do get some pushback from concept artists, like, because there are too many rules, then we can't, freely think of concepts. And I kind of understand their point.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we want them to work, but yes, we don't want to stifle creativity.
Yes.
But it has to meet somewhere in the middle, because we'll end up with a mess of things at some point.
Yes.
We do have MTXs that just come in and like, I wanted it to do this, and I'm just like, who told you we could do this? And now we have to come up with a completely new way of doing things. Yeah. Which it helps push the tech.
Yeah.
But there are some instances we don't always have the chance to. Yeah. Okay. We have enough time. Let's update it.
Yeah.
Oh no, this MTX is here. We need it this weekend.
Yeah, we're actually recording it tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's things like that where like and I think, at least from what I've noticed, because I've been working on a bunch of armors for the games, when I'm playing games now with different armors and stuff, I tend to like stare at them all together.
How they deform.
How they deform, how they do certain things. Yeah. And for some games, I feel like, we came to the same solution. Yeah. And for other things, some games just like, we're just not going to care about that.
Yeah, it's going to deform.
Yeah.
It's like, deal with it.
It's going to deform, it's going to clip, deal with it. And I will say that we have some of the strictest QA for armors ever, because...
Shout out QA.
Yeah. Which is good, because that means we come out with really good stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is such a hassle to like... it's clipping, and because it's this really tiny thing that maybe the player will see or something, but we have to fix it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's such a fun situation to be in. Like these are the problems, and these are the things that we're wrestling with. The topology thing is like, man, I've been with the company for a little while, and so when you say what 4,000 to 5,000, like main characters back then were like less than 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember reading, like, looking at Halo and like the Assassin's Creed 2 back in the day. They were targeting similar poly counts, and it was cool because I could say, for our like camera, this is sufficient. This number, like 2,000, is sufficient. But man, like we've scaled up, and a lot of people do not care about poly count like I do.
Yeah.
And it's fine because we can accommodate for it because hardware's better and things like this. Texture resolution is much larger than a 512 texture map for the main characters. Yeah.
It's good that we're at least pushing forward and not getting held back. Because
in some areas, for sure.
Yeah, because it's something that it's not just for games, but for some things in life where if you keep yourself on this level, then you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, you stagnate. You can't. I think the best artists at work are the ones that are constantly pushing forward. And I think you probably know this, like you know those people that are pushing the barriers. It's kind of obvious.
Like even if pushing the barrier for them will cause us a bunch of discomfort, but sometimes
it's momentary.
It just has to be done.
And it does make tools better. I'm sure you've seen a lot of it, man.
Yeah,
like the tools that you work on now are awesome. I talked to Boaz, and he was telling me about the pose capture that you'd worked on. He was saying it was pretty badass, and I was like pretty proud, like that we have that.
Yeah,
at the company.
So yeah, when it comes to the tools, we do try to really push it. And what's kind of funny is that there is this kind of mindset where I feel like I'm trying to bring in some rigs that have the same level of quality as you would a cinematic thing.
Right, okay.
But using it to control a game rig.
Yeah.
And that part for me is like pretty fun. And I managed to get away with it so far. But then there are so many tools that I now need to go back to because it's dated. Yeah, because your standards now are way higher than they were. Yep. Then. And also because my experience. So like I said, it was only when I got into grinding gears that I was being asked to make more tools for the animators and stuff. And my level of understanding for coding was like much lower than where it is now. Yeah. So and so that immediately unlocks like the things that you're capable of producing. Yep. One thing that just came to mind was, and after hearing about your story, it's quite obvious what happened. But I was like, rigging is such a niche thing to land on in your career. And I remember asking you, like, why rigging? Why'd you go into rigging? And your response was, because I hate animating on someone else's rig. Yep. And I was like, oh, dude, like with that Gundam thing. Like this sounds like it left some scars. Oh. But also it sounded like you had really supportive rigging instructors and you had a lot of information there. So this might have been like a strong suit for you. So I just fell in the rigging niche unintentionally. Yeah. It just so happened that the one that I met that was really, really good at rigging and I respected enough was my mentor, and he was the one doing the rigging, and I just soaked in that information. Yeah, that's awesome. And at the same time, I was still an animator wanting to animate things. Yeah. So I'm not gonna wait around for someone to give me a rig or for like a new rig to be available online and stuff like that. I'm just like, I can do it, So I'll rig up my character and start animating now. I don't have to wait for anyone.
Yeah.
And there's also the mindset of like, I'm gonna animate with someone else's rig, but I needed to do something else.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wait for someone else to like fix this. I can fix it right here, right now, and get the result I want.
I gotcha.
So yeah,
I love like grinding gear is really great in the way that they facilitate. They cater to so much variety, just like monsters and creatures and things like that. And I love that we can just like. I always go back to Grand Theft Auto, and you can see like the posters.
Yeah. No, we're back. So we're back here again.
Yeah, but like it's so cool because you can go through and actually see how AAA studios, like billion-dollar companies, deal with rigs and stuff like that, and it's cool to take a piece from them. John's probably sick of it, but the amount of times I've brought up like the actual three main characters in Grand Theft Auto and just how they do like elbow topology. But it's so cool. Like, isn't it cool to like go to work and talk about that?
Yeah, it's really great. And I mean, I also agree with your thing where it's like, you know, getting in references from different games. When I was practicing myself, I used to get ripped models from Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, okay.
And most of my topology workflow I got based from them.
Right, okay.
So if someone would look at the topology I made and ripped out something from Final Fantasy, they were
1-to-1.
No, they're not one. Well, not 1-to-1, but they were pretty close enough because I did it that way. I did it their way first, rigged it up, saw some issues, added my extra stuff to it, but then at least I had a starting point for like, this one already worked. It's moving the way I want. Looks the way I want. And then we can move on from there.
Yeah. I love that. I always talk about that character, like the Michael rig. I always talk about that because that was mind-blowing for me to see. I remember just seeing it and just being like, dude, look at the freaking elbows. Look at that loop. Like, who does that? And it's because the video games to me are so fascinating in that you want to put in the amount of work to visually sell it and no more. And it's that it's the thing that there are technical limitations and implications of like if you were to deliver a thing that was not performant, like there are repercussions.
Every decision you make will have real time.
Yeah, dude, I know that like every time you add a joint, it's like no. Like you've got to be really conscious about like just adding a single joint to a character rig. Which is cool. I love that kind of stuff.
Well, that has been unlocked recently, but it still has a cost.
Yes.
Like we may not have the old limit as we do before.
Yeah.
But because the tech is different, we're now grabbing like computing power from somewhere else to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's actually something that I bring up sometimes with the animators, because there was this point where they were just saying like, can I have another bone here? Can I have another bone there? But then we're like, it's maxed out. It's at 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we'll get messages like, I thought there's no limit anymore. And I'm like, no,
there are limits.
There's no soft limit.
Yeah.
But there is a hard limit.
Yeah.
And as much as possible, we wanna keep it within there, because there have been a bunch of leagues that we've already done. Let's say Incursion, the one with all the Val people. Near the end of release, I spent 2 weeks optimizing all of those things for physics, because they were asking like, I want physics in all of their skirts and stuff like that. And then now that you have like 100,000 of them on the screen, there's like
all with physics.
Yeah, it's choking up the entire thing. And I'm just like, you guys wanted this. And now I had to work ways on like removing them, making some work with it. And same thing goes for like the Legion League and stuff. There, like, yeah, the limit is no longer there, but we still have to be careful of like, just because we can doesn't mean we should, because the amount of return we're getting for it isn't probably the same as like, oh yeah, the limit is released and this boss character now instead of splitting it up into 3 different rigs that we're gonna have to jigsaw puzzle together to work as one, I can just do it all in one rig. And that helps. Like, I think there's a big benefit from doing that.
Of course.
It doesn't waste anyone's time trying to...
You're not having to animate separate pieces and then, like, put them together again.
Put them all together, and then, like, ooh, crap, this one animation is a bit off, now I have to go through it.
I have to tweak 3 different Maya scenes.
So things like that, then no problem. If I, like, if it seems like somewhere that would benefit, I'm all for it. So...
Yeah, you've got a really awesome attitude, and it's obviously awesome working with you. Whenever we get to talk about rigs and stuff, I know like facial animation or anything isn't like much of a thing for our game, but you know it's something I'm always like interested in. I still love like all facets of like 3D, which is why it's quite a nice pairing, like what I do at Grinding Gear and.
Yeah, I actually like watching you guys do the whole texturing stuff.
Oh yeah,
because the level you guys are on in texturing is like I'm at now. I would say I'm now basic level texturing.
Right, just because of all the tools that have come along.
Because of all the tools that you guys do, and then the way that you guys are actually using the textures, I'm just like, okay, I'm getting an error with a texturing issue.
Yeah,
I don't have time to like learn all of this yet, so I'll just it's good that you're there, and then you do something, and I'm like, oh wow, you did it in just a few clicks and stuff. Amazing.
It's all happening. That's one of the cool things about working at Grinding Gear. Just the many disciplines that are there and coming together, and it's I'm lucky enough to actually work with different departments too. Shit, man, I think I'm going to wrap up. Like, what do you reckon?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot.
Dude, it was awesome having you on, man.
It was great.
And to hear that story, it was awesome. You had so much more that I didn't even know about. So, yeah, it was really cool to hear about it. Do you care about, like, do you want to put out your ArtStation page? Do you care about people messaging you? Would you like to put that out there?
Well... Yeah, I mean, if people want to look at my stuff or like ask rigging related questions, you can just check out Rain Haze at ArtStation.
We'll put a link in the clip as well. I've got a Twitter account, by the way. I'm just going to put this out to the listeners. I don't use it. If people follow me, I might have a reason to use it. So I'm just going to put that out there. John, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks again also. It was a fun talk.
Cool. See you.